The fifth day of submission, which is the final submission. We finish it. It just occurred to us that it is not 90 odd days. It is in fact today somebody just told us it is the 100th day of proceedings. Okay, so I think it is only fair that the judge require time for us to for him to prepare the submission, or rather the judgment, and that is almost about 2 months. Okay? Anything else you want to know about today? Or any other day? Okay. We have always been confident that there's a good defense in all the 7 charges. There's a good defense, primarily because, as you can see, there is a great deal of topsy-turvy in the SRC as well as in the bank. Nobody seems to know who has instructed the dispatch of the sum of money through the bank and through the 2 other companies. Until now, I am sure none of you, after hearing the case, can tell me who actually is responsible, because we have proven the so-called Datuk Subo as well as Nick Faisal, their signature has been forged in many ways. It has been forged. So who in SRC did it? You need to have the person who caused the movement of the money, because that will be the act. The actor's race. The guilty intention is something else. Until today, prosecution does not know. We do not know. So we have always felt that is good, because for Section 23, which is basically a corruption charge, there is a total disconnect between the act as well as the so-called gratification. And then 409 is virtually zero. But once these predicated offences are removed, the AMLA offences are automatically brought down. So we have always felt confident, but let's see what the outcome is.
Governor just now described the whole 14 months as sometimes rather daunting, questioning, putting Najib on the witness stand. For you and your team, how has it been?
Oh, I think we had an exciting time, because as you can see, we were like the water in the river, quite smooth flowing. We took care of every one of the witnesses with a lot of preparedness. We did a lot of investigation, because we are not privileged to have documents like the prosecution had. And unlike other countries where you have it months ahead and a total disclosure, this country is not just in this case, in all other cases. Prosecution always never disclosed to us in a timely fashion, and not all. Like for instance, witnesses' statement. We are never given the witnesses' statement. In all other countries, they do. I'm not saying all, but say in England, Australia, US, they give you a statement of the witnesses.
I'm sure you raised a very pertinent point this morning. That is, the transactions were never authorized and no bankers were.
Yeah. Okay. You see, this is circumstantial evidence. The whole case is circumstantial. Nobody saw Datuk Sri Najib actually meeting the SRC people, or the SRC people coming to testify that Datuk Sri Najib gave an order for the money from SRC to be transferred to him and to camouflage it by putting it through 2 companies. Nobody said that. Okay? So one would expect the transfer to be legitimate at least, because you and your banker, there's a contract. You say, okay, I'm the one with mandate, so only my signature you will clear. But what happened is all those paperwork that SRC did about mandate all came to naught, because in this transaction we have shown that they were all unauthorized transaction. The bank obliged, SRC did it. Now, can you imagine anyone saying to us now, and they never said it, that Datuk Sri Najib authorized all that, or Datuk Sri Najib dictated all that. Nobody can say that. That's why the fact of the illegality is very important, because once there is illegal transaction, you cannot presume the usual. You know, in law, when you deal with witnesses' statement or evidence, you can draw inferences. But you can only draw inferences if the situation is normal. Like for instance, if I go into the toilet and I left my ring in the toilet, okay, there's only one toilet. And then next, Mr. A comes in, and then I realize my ring is missing. After him, I went in. It is irresistible that Mr. A must have taken my ring. That's circumstantial, but it is a logical inference. Why? Because it's a normal state of affairs. That's how humans behave. But when you deal with irregularities and illegalities, there is no rule governing it. So you do not know how these irregularities and illegalities transpired. So you cannot do the normal inferences that the law allows you. So you actually need to prove, they need to prove, that this is precisely how the movement of the fund was ordered by such and such a person. Until today, you don't have it. Alright? This is not even talking about honest intention or dishonest intention. Not even going there yet. If you go into dishonest intention, it's even more problematic for them.
Sir, could you elaborate on the point that was misled, right, by the victim of a scam by Jolo and former SRC CEO and bankers?
Sure.
Could you explain also like why would they want to, what do they have to gain by misleading or deceiving?
Good question. All right. You see, you remember it all started because apart from Jolo, there were other people. Some are legitimate, like ambassadors and all that. They're legitimate. Some are not, like Jolo. Okay. The arrangement was to meet King Abdullah for the donation. Okay. So Jolo saw the opportunity. There's a lot of donation King Abdullah was going to send. And he somehow or other managed also to worm himself in the good company of the Saudi as well as the Abu Dhabi. Okay? So he saw this opportunity. If you were to attend the 1MDB trial, because the 1MDB trial and this trial are quite connected, what would Jolo gain? The very first transaction under TIA, when he becomes 1MDB for the first time, he made 540 million out of one bond. And that, by the way, Datuk Sri Najib was shocked because he only learned it in court. So what he did was, he pumped in some money. Yeah, we don't know whether this money came through him or other people. Some money goes into Datuk Sri Najib's account to maintain this relationship of the aspect of donation, because he certainly, yeah, you will say this donation, he kept on putting in. While he's doing that, he also was making a lot more money, because in 1MDB there's a lot of money that he made. That is why he's got finally about 7 billion. So if you say what has he got to gain, 7 billion or more he gained. You see, most people will do this. It's like playing with a kite, no? You let go the kite and then you pull, you let go the kite and then you pull. This is what the famous fishing technique. You fish people by putting in the right bait. So he misled the former Prime Minister in this fashion. And the former Prime Minister, until the story broke out, never knew that Jolo was doing this. You see? So, that's why I asked the question that you asked. There are many things that is not right. Many things. Like, for instance, why 42 million in this case? How much did I raise? 4 billion. The allegation is, I raised for you 4 billion in SRC. You give me a kickback of 42 million. Does it make sense? Can someone tell me how the calculation of 42 million is? Why 42 million? Is there some good feng shui number? It is 0.0 something percent. Normally people get about 4% commission. And then I do a corrupt transaction with you. Let's say you, miss, I said, okay, you give me 5,000 ringgit. Okay, I will do you this favor. I'm a custom officer or something. Will you be able to tell me, okay, you do me this favor, I'll pay you 3 years time from now? Does it make sense? If I am all the powerful Prime Minister, which they say, I'm so powerful and SRC is under my stable, why can't I dictate? I say, okay, before the drawdown or on the day of the drawdown, because 2 drawdown, why can't I have straight away the 42 million? Or in fact, a lot more. Because I gave you 4 billion loan. If I'm corrupt, I should get it immediately. And if you say I control SRC, surely I can tell SRC, give it to me within a week. How come 3.5 years? It's totally disconnected. Sorry, you're muffled.
The cases are closely related to the MDB case.
Yes.
So the verdict have any sort of impact?
Not really, because the charges are distinct. But the narratives are connected. Because the donation money and all that, yeah? All that are connected.
How about the separate charges that Zainis caught?
The July transactions.
Yeah, this is the blunder made by Tommy Thomas. You remember? This is not one blunder, but many blunders. This is one of them. Well, he forgot that there's these 3 charges that he has left behind. It's like you're going shopping with your children. Suddenly you realize 3 kids are missing. That's what happened.
So if you get an unfavorable decision in this court, how would that affect the proceedings?
It doesn't affect, because they have to do a complete trial all over again.
Could the prosecution, since it's from the chambers, could they bring findings from here to that?
No, only that what they may be able to do is to show, okay, here we have proven the predicate offence. But they have to show all over again there that he's got the knowledge. Yeah. It's only 1 or 2 elements they can prove.
Cumberland expects finality to the case all the way to the federal court sometime in July next year. It's about 8 months to a year.
Oh, yeah.
Is that what kind of time frame you're looking at?
Well, I am hoping it is that speedy. I'm hoping that it is that speedy, because we would love it. Because we know, we think, we are very confident that the ultimate result will be in our favor. That I can tell you that. Because we are so confident of this. You can hear from our submission. It is not a hollow narrative. It's not a hollow submission. Why is this case having so much problem? The prosecution has got so much problem to cross, and they haven't crossed yet. Okay? Any other thing? Thank you. Thank you. Go and have lunch.